So far, we have been working with command line applications. And we know that usually these days, very rarely people use command line applications. Okay. So we will use graphical user interfaces. So when it comes to graphical user interface, Java has two technologies. One is Swing, other one is JavaFX. And of course, the web development we will be doing separately. That is developing web-based applications like browser-based. Okay, that is in your semester 2. So we are now not referring to the Java web applications, standalone or Windows-based applications. Right? So when it comes to Windows-based applications, so the key technologies are Java. Then we have the .NET or the C Sharp. Python is also there, and so on. Okay. Right. So when it comes to Java, you need to use either Swing or JavaFX. Both are in your syllabus. So today we will look at how to develop UI development using Swing. So let me open the note. Again, the syllabus is fairly big. Not the syllabus, basically. There are a lot of classes, widgets in Swing. Okay. But we will only cover the minimum essential because otherwise it will be too much for you to prepare for the exams and so on. So usually you get only one question from this topic. Okay, sometimes no question. I think last year no question at all. Okay, but forget about the exams. These are important for your confidence and competencies. Okay, right. So as I told you, you can use either JavaFX or Swing, or we call it Java Foundation classes. So Swing and AWT is the traditional approach. JavaFX is a little bit new approach. But it doesn't mean that JavaFX has replaced Swing. So basically what happened is both these technologies are evolving parallelly. So therefore, depending on your requirement, either you can use JFC or the Swing AWT or JavaFX. So it's good to know both. Okay. So Swing AWT is part of the JDK. So therefore, you don't need any additional Java classes, packages to use it. So if you have installed Java, you can straight away use it. But for JavaFX, there are third-party classes, libraries you need to use. Okay, right. Right. So it's called Swing AWT. Okay, Swing AWT. So the reason is earlier when JDK was released in early 90s, 1990s, so they came up with AWT, Abstract Widget Toolkit, some UI and event handling classes. But soon they found that there are some issues with AWT UI components because those were heavyweight, less performing uh, classes. So therefore, they came up with the new set of classes called Swing classes. But the event handling related codes classes are still used because AWT supported both UI and event handling. But now what happens is we use Swing UI part rather than the AWT. AWT classes are there but not used. But event handling, we use AWT. So therefore, it's a mixture of Swing, UI, and AWT event handling we use. Okay, right. So therefore, most of the time when there's a class like button, there's AWT class, Swing class. Always use the Swing class for UI because AWT is the outdated old approach. But event handling, don't worry, just use the AWT event handling. Okay. Right. So this is related to the Swing. Again, Swing related classes are in Java.X.Swing package. So therefore, make sure you import the Swing package or individual items when you are using. Otherwise, you will compile errors. Okay. Right. So these are some important classes in the Swing development. Uh, So there's a class called, of course, all the classes in Java implicitly extend from object class. So then extending the object class, there's a class called component. So basically, all the UI elements are components. J button, J menu, right? Text box, all those are components. So then extending component, there's a class called J component. And all your widgets are J components, right? J table, J menu, J button, okay? J list. So all those are J components. So we will be using these things, okay? And remember, all those are extend from J component. J components are extend from component. So then the other side, you have window class, panel class. And we will be heavily using frame or J frames or J dialogues. Okay. Applets are no longer used. It's an outdated concept. So applets extend from panel. Okay. Right. Don't worry about those things. I just gave you some overview. When we use, you will learn how to use it. Okay. Right. So when it comes to UI development, there are two approaches. One approach is you code it. You code it as much as possible. So that is the approach used by Java developers. So it is time consuming, more difficult approach, but you have very good control. You know what you are doing. Okay. So that's the hard way of doing things. So that is what most of the time Java, C, C++, Python developers like do, code it, right? Because you have better control. Second approach is just drag and drop and quickly develop UI. Of course, it is faster to develop, but sometimes there are limitations because you have less control of your code. Okay. So here we will use the hard approach, which is giving you us a lot of control, though it is taking more time. Okay. Right. So therefore, we will not do any drag and drop. We will write everything as coding. And when you write code, it's a great way to learn object-oriented programming also. Okay. Right. So the first thing is we want to create a window. Window. Okay. How do you create a window? This is how you create a window. Okay, let me open my IntelliJ. So this is very important that you do this as a practical thing because these are all practicals. Okay. So I will create a window and then add some components of the window. I will say new Java class. I'll call it my window. My, okay, I'll call it my frame. My frame. And if you want to make it a window or frame, usually in Java language we call it a frame, you need to extend. There's a class called JFrame. JFrame. Okay. It's in the JavaX Swing package. JavaX Swing package. Okay, JFrame. Okay, right. Or else you can create a JFrame object. So let's use that approach. Okay. Let's forget about this for the time being. So let's say JFrame demo. I'll come back to this class later. Right. So I will have the main method PSVM. Right. So let me delete my frame, otherwise you will get confused. Right. So I have JFrame demo. Right. I will straight away create a JFrame object because JFrame is a class. Say JFrame. I'll call it F1. equal new J frame. Okay, J frame. So that is how you create a frame. It's a frame. Now, but just because you create object, it doesn't mean it is visible. So for example, if I run this, nothing will be, no output will be given. Okay, so I just run it. Still it is getting compiled. Right, I just run it. It says finish, but nothing is there. Okay. So by default, when you create a JFrame object, it doesn't show. So if you want to show it, there's a method called set visible in the JFrame object class. So therefore you need to call that. Say f1 dot JFrame class has a method called set visible. Set visible, you need to send true as the parameter. True. And then only it is visible. By default, frame is created but not shown. Right. Now only it will be visible. Now let's run it and see. Okay. By default, your JFrame has 0 size. So therefore only you can, I don't know whether you can see it. You can only see the toolbar, close button, maximize button, and the icon. Nothing else. If you want, you can maximize. Okay. So now you can see the, because I maximize it. So by default, the size is 0 by 0. Right. So therefore, before make it set visible, you better set the size. Otherwise, it's sort of useless unless you maximize it. Okay. Right. So let's set the size also. Say F1. So JFrame object has a method called set size. You can give the width and height. Okay. Or you can call the set bound method. Set size or set bounds. If I use the set size, you just need to give the width and height. Say width is say 300 pixels. Say height is 200 pixels. Now I create a JFrame object, set the width and height, and ask it to visible. It's all coding, right? No drag and drop, nothing. Now you can see there's a small window. And by default, it's open in the top left corner. Top left corner. Right, let's make it a little bit bigger. Say 500, 300. Or let's say 700, 400. But still it will be appearing in the top left corner. Right, so now I have the window, but it appears in the top left corner. Right, so let's make it something like 500. But if you want to appear it in a different place, don't use set size, rather call the set bound method. And you have better control. Say f1 dot set bound. So then you have 4 parameters. What are those parameters? XY coordinate of the top left corner from this point, top left, then the width and height. Okay, so therefore usually what we use is the set bounds method, not the set size. Say my XY coordinates from the top left corner is say X is say 400 pixels, Y is say 800 pixels. Now that means 400, 800 is the XY coordinates, something like this. From here, 400 pixels down, 800 pixels to the left. So therefore my starting point will be somewhere here. And then the width and height is 400 and 800. So therefore it will be a little bit in the center now. Okay. Right. So let me give the width and height. So let's say 700, 500. Width and height is the third and fourth parameters. These are the XY coordinates of top left corner. Okay. with respect to the top left corner of the screen. Right, let's run it. Why it is not appearing? Let me double check. Set bounds method. X, Y, width and height. Correct, right? So why it's not appearing? Let me double check. 400, 800. Maybe 800 is too much. Okay, so let's say 400, 400 and 700, 500. And set visible. Okay, let's run it again. Right, I think earlier it was too much, so I will make it a little bit lesser. Maybe 300, 300. Okay, or maybe 200, 200. Right, now the window has appeared. So this is 200, 200 and width and height. And width is 700, height is 500. So this is my J frame. J frame is like a window. Okay, J frame is like a window. Okay, right. So now I have the window. Still, my window doesn't have anything. Okay, doesn't have anything. Right, so that this is one way of doing it. Okay, but this is not very flexible approach. The second approach is you extend JFrame class and create your own class. So then it is reusable. Then again and again you can create object of that class. That means you then again and again you can create instance of that kind of a window. So then you don't need to do these things again and again. Because you can do those things in your class. So therefore, this is not a very practical approach, but this is the quick and easy way to create a window. Now let's do it in the proper way. Okay, that is extend in the JFrame class. You create your own class and then create object of that. So then it's more reusable. Then your code is reusable. Okay, right. So let's do that. Say Java class. I will call it my frame. Let's extend JFrame. Right. So then what we do is we can set size, set visible or set bound, set visible. We can do it in the constructor because constructor is called every time object is created. Now we are using the object oriented concepts. Okay. So we create a class extending JFrame. Now let's create a constructor. And in the constructor, we can call the set bound, set visible, and so on. Now you can just call it because it's those methods are in the super type. Okay. Because this is automatically called whenever my frame object is created. Now let's create a class called my frame demo or my frame test with main method PSVM. Now I can create a my frame object. Okay, not a J frame object because my frame class is my own class. My MF1 new my frame. You just need to call it. Why? Then the constructor is called. In the constructor, set bound is called and set visible is called. So therefore, you don't need to call the set visible. Right? So you just need to create the object because the constructor will do it. Now let's see. You will get the same similar window. Similar window. Okay, right. So this is the better approach. You create your class and in the constructor you set it. And also if you want, you can set the title. Set title is there. Let's say hello. Okay, it's right. You can see the title is also there. So likewise, you need to gradually add more and more features, right? So you can see every time I close this, but again when I run it, it says my program is still running. You can see I need to say stop and rerun. The reason is by default, when you close your window using the close button, it doesn't stop the program. It just make your window invisible. So if you want to terminate your program, there's a method called set default close operation. So you need to call that and send the exit on close constant. Okay, so let's do that also. Set set default close operation. Set default close operation. So then there's a constant you need to send. If you know the number, you can send. But let's use the constant itself. JFrame class has a constant called exit on close. Exit on close. Or it's basically number 3. So then only when you close, your program will be terminated. Okay, so let's run it now. Run. This is from the previous running. Right, now I close it. When I close, my program will be terminated now. Right, okay, so process finished. Now if I run it again, now I don't get that message again. Because when I close, the program is terminated. Why? Because I have set the default close operation to exit on close. So now exit on close is set. So therefore, when you close, your program is already terminated. Okay, so let's run it again. And when you close it, you don't need to terminate again. It's automatically closed. Okay, so that is how it works. Right. So any questions up to this point? Right. So you create a class extending the JFrame, and in the constructor, you can set the bounds, title, set visible, and also set default close operation and those things. Okay. Right. So now still our JFrame has nothing. It's just a window. So it's useful when we create buttons and so on. Okay. And also event handling, what happens when you click on a button, what happens when you click on something, a text box and so on. Okay. Right. So now let's move on to those concepts. Right. First of all, when you create your UI components or design your layouts, your UI, you need to set a layout. There are a lot of layouts available. Some layouts are AWT layouts, all layouts, and some layouts are swing layouts. Layouts are okay whether you use AWT or swing. Okay. Because we manually code it, it's very important that you find the correct layout. Right? So when you create big applications, the one of the most popular layout is border layout. Border layout. Now, if you take something like, say, some application, say, let's take something like this. Uh, something like this. So you can see this is also border layout. This is the left side, left area, and this is your top area, right? And so on. Left area, top area, middle area. So if you take another application like, say, even something like Word. So you can see this is your top area, right? Top area. Then sometimes you have contents in the bottom area, like let me open my pen. So this is my top area. and this is my bottom area. So similarly, you can have certain type items in my left area, certain items in my right area, and the middle area. So this is the general layout for most of the applications. Top, bottom, left, right, and center. Of course, the individual windows, you can use different layouts, but this is the general layout for your major applications. So let's use that layout for the time being. Okay. Right. So this is called border layout. Okay. So you need to set the layout uh, for your JFrame. Okay. So let's set the layout for this. So how to do that? There's a method called set layout. Set layout. To that, you need to create the correct layout object and give it. Okay, I'll say new border layout. It's a new border layout object, and I create anonymous object. Even I did not create object for that because it's just used to set the layout. Now the layout is border layout. Now I have the north, south, east, west, center. Okay. Now I can add components or panels to different part of the layout. Okay, different parts. So to make it very simple, let's add some button to different part of the our layout. Okay, so let's create few buttons. Say these things also we can do it in the my constructor. Okay, so let's say J button. Let's call it B1 equal new J button. Of course, you don't add buttons to these, right? Usually what we do is we add panels and so on. And this is just to explain you the layout. Okay, I'll just call it one label. I will add 5 buttons to 5 regions. Say button 2, button 3, button 4, button 5, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Right. So then there's a method called add to add your components. Okay. So there's a method called add. And it takes expect component. Remember, J button is a component. Therefore, when component is expected, I can send a J button. That is polymorphism. Right? For example, if you go to the J button class, J button extend from abstract button. Abstract button extend from J component. J component extend from container. Right? And contain extend from component. So therefore, when component is expected, I can send a J button, polymorphism. Remember, when pet is expected, I was able to send dog. When animal is expected, I can send dog. Same thing, polymorphism. I told you this is the great way to learn object-oriented programming also. And if you have not learned your object-oriented programming, now you are stuck. Right now you are struggling. Right. So therefore, I call that method, and it expect the component. I'll say at B1 at B1. But additionally, I can say because I have border layout is set, I can say to which area you want to add this button, right? To which area. I can say I want to add it to the north, south, because border layout has these regions. Okay? Border layout has these regions. So I can say border layout north, second parameter. Okay. Say comma, border layout class has a constant called north, south, and so on. Okay, so let's add to different regions, different buttons. 3, 4, 5, 2, button 3, button 4, button 5. Say let's add it to south. Those are constants, okay, available in this class. East, west, and center. So now I have added the 5 buttons to 5 regions. Of course, usually we don't add buttons, rather we add panels and other things, okay? But this is just to explain you the use of border layout. Right now I can run my class. Let's see whether my 5 buttons are in the 5 regions. Still, my buttons are not visible. You can see why. Let's see what happens. My buttons are there. I have added to the different areas. Why it is not showing? Okay, let's double check. We have all the set visible. Why is not my buttons are visible? So that is strange. Create button, set the border layout, edit to different areas, and call the set visible. Maybe I need to call the set visible last. Let's see. I don't know. Maybe that is a possible reason. Maybe we'll call the set visible later. And let's run it and see. Yes. So you need to do the set visible later. Now you can see that these are the different regions. North region, east, sorry, east, west, center, and south. Of course, usually you don't need buttons, right? So here you need, maybe here you will add a menu. Here you will add a panel, another panel, and on this panel, maybe you will be adding some buttons and other things. So that is how you do it. But this simply explain that there's a layout like this. So this layout is called what? Border layout. Okay, border layout. Okay. So likewise, there are different layouts available. Right? For example, if you take calculate app of the Windows, so it use another layout. Right? You can see buttons are there. So this is another layout use for this area. Okay, so let's see, we can create such a layout also. So this is called grid layout. Grid layout. It's like a grid. Okay, so something like calculator, and the grid layout is the ideal for adding these buttons. Okay, adding these buttons. So let's do create another class. I'll call this grid layout demo. Grid layout demo. But first I need to create a my frame with the grid layout. Okay. Or you can create a frame, J-frame, and set the layout. Both will work. Okay. Let's do it in a simple way. PSVM. I will copy paste code from here because it's faster. After some time, you will be doing a lot of copy pasting. Okay. So that is perfectly okay. Knowing you can copy paste. Okay. Right. I will set the layout as, so I will do the set visible last. Say F1 dot set layout. For that, I will send grid layout. Say new grid layout. Okay, grid layout. Right. So now you can simply add. Simply add. It will keep adding as long as your width is enough. When the width is not enough, it will add to the next row. That is the idea. Okay. So we'll add few more buttons and we'll add it. And you can set the grid layouts, number of rows and number of columns upfront also. So then it will stick with these number of rows and columns. Okay. Right. So let's set the number of rows and columns also. Let's say 3 by 3, or let's say 4 by 3. 4 rows, each row 3 buttons. Okay. 3 buttons. Okay. So I created few buttons. And now for the frame 1, I am adding button 1, button 2, button 3. I just add it in the same line because otherwise it will take a lot of lines. Okay. Or you can just add it in separate lines. Right. So then finally we'll do the set visible. Of course, we have only 9, but this one can keep up to 12 buttons because 4 by 3. So let's create few more buttons. 10, say 11th button, 12th button. Okay. Now let's run it and see whether it's used, because now this time we use grid layout. Okay. It's like a 4 by 3 table. You can see 4 by 3 table. Okay, why not the others are not visible? Why? So it's only 9 buttons added. Can someone see the error? I have not added. I have created the buttons, but I have not added. So let's add 10, 11, 12. I need to add the 10th button, 11th button, 12th button. Because I just creating the buttons will not do. You need to add it to your frame. Now you can see buttons are added. Okay. So this time I'm not using the border layout. This time I'm using the grid layout. Okay. And again, we better set the default close operation. Okay. Default close operation. Otherwise, I need to terminate every time. F1 dot. Because this time I'm not using extending the class. Right. Now when I run again, it will ask me to terminate the previous one because I only I add this line. Okay. Now this time when I run, it will not give me that message because exit on close operate is set. Okay. Right. So those are two layouts. So likewise, there are so many other layouts. So my task is not teaching you each and every layout. Okay. Depending on your requirement, then and there you can use your layouts. Of course, in the exams also, they don't check much whether you have family with this and that. Okay. Right. So this is another layout called flow layout. So flow layout is ideal to adding something like these buttons and so on. Right? Keep adding, keep adding when there's a space. Okay. Uh, so that is called flow layout. Flow layout. So then it will be keep adding like this. So you can try out those things by yourself. Okay. So this is box layout, vertical box layout. And similarly, you can go for horizontal box layout. Okay. So then grid bag layout is the most flexible layout, but usually grid bag layout is used with tools because this is where you need XY coordinates and so on. So therefore, basically you use a tool to drag and drop and align your items, and the tool will use the grid bag layout. So therefore, usually we don't code using grid bag layout. Okay. So that is the idea. Okay. Right. So in reality, what happens is we will use some panels and so on. Okay, panels, and in the panel we will use another layout and so on. Okay, so let's ask ChatGPT to, once you learn these things, of course, you don't code. Let others code, right? Tools will do the coding. Right. So let's ask ChatGPT to generate, let's explain the requirement, but you must be able to understand the code. So that is your task, right? Your task is not doing all the time. Get the things by tools and AI agents, but you must know what is happening. So you are like a supervisor. So that is what the modern software developers are doing. Okay. Say, let's say generate swing UI having a menu. I will explain how to add menu later. A menu bar in the top and few tool buttons. Okay, I'll say north region, and some tool buttons in the left or west region. So let it generate it. But before doing that, I will explain you how to work with menus also. Anyway, let's let it generate the code first. Right. So it has generated the code. You can see JFrame is created. Now you must be familiar with this code. Right. Set size, set default operation. Right. So I will explain this menu code. Okay. And some buttons it has added. And a little bit of event handling is also done. Don't worry. Right. Don't worry. And it's explain how to compile and run also. Okay. Right. So let's first run this. Uh, so this class is called swing UI layout. Java class swing layer. Okay. Let's say whether how it looks, whether ChatGPT has done a good job. Copy code. So this is the code. It has not done sophisticated classes. It has just do it in a very simple way. Okay. So don't worry about this invoke later. That is an advanced concept. We can even just ask it to show. Okay. Don't worry about that. Let's run and see how it looks. Uh, it looks okay, right? So it's not the best, but it's according to my requirement. I asked it to add a menu to the top part. Okay, some menu items are also there, and add some buttons, tools buttons to the left. Okay, it's something like gym, something like, yeah, maybe Inkscape. That is how you start your application. Okay, let's see. So you learn small things and combine things. Right? So you can see there's a set of tools in my Inkscape and menu. Maybe I can add another menu. Then maybe to the right region, I can add another panel. So that is how software is developed. Okay. That is how software is developed. Okay. So this is my left region. Left region. Then event handling and so on. Okay. So don't think that software development is rocket science. Okay. Right. Now I will explain. I will get back to this later. So don't worry about this one. Okay. So this is advanced feature for thread safety. Rather, we can just call create a JFrame object. Okay. So because this is a thread programming. So rather than this line, because otherwise you will be wondering what is that. uh, uh, I will call this method, okay? In my main method, create and show GUI. It's a static method, so therefore I can straight away call. Right? So this code you will perfectly understand after I explain the J button. Okay, sorry, menus. Now let's run it again. I just remove that code. Same thing. So if I want to start it somewhere here, you know what to do now because it started here. Maybe I want to start somewhere here. You know what to do. Okay. So has it called the set? Yeah, it has called the set size. So rather we can say set rather than the set size, we can call what? Set bounds. Set bounds. And then this will be say 100 comma 100 xy coordinates. Uh, Now let's see whether we get it in a little bit middle of the screen. So that is what software developers do, right? They don't write each and every code. So they let tools and other AI develop the code and fine tune it. Fine tuning. Okay, fine tuning. So you must have get into that kind of a mode because a lot of people they are. I told you this game is all about confidence, confidence, competencies. Okay, attitude, not memorizing things and always thinking about exams, exams, exams. So that is the kala kanni chintane. Right? මරාගෙන මැරෙන්න හදන එක්සෑම් එකට. ඒකෙන් දැන් සර්ටිෆිකේට් අච්චු ගහනවා, සර්ටිෆිකේට් හොයනවා. හැමෝම මේ උපාධි සහතිකයි ඔක්කොමත් එක ගේම් ගහන්නේ. මෙලෝ හත්තිලවක් කරගන්න බෑ. මෙලෝ හත්තිලවක් කරගන්න බෑ. අඩු ගානේ අර කතානායක වුණාට පස්සේ නේද? ඒක බෙල්ල එල්ල ගන්න ඕනද, ඔළුවේ දාන්න ඕනද, බටන් එක දාන්න ඕනද කියලා තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ. හැබැයි උටු උපාධිය තමයි ඕන. So don't get into that. Your task is be a good, competent person with good attitude, positive attitude. දියව දියව කියන රස්සා ඉල්ලන ආණ්ඩුවේ රස්සා හිඟා කන මංකොල්ල කන ඊට පස්සේ පඩි වැඩි කරන්න කියලා මංකොල්ල කන සෙට් එකට යන්න එපා. Build your competencies, build your skills. Okay, right. So let's get back to this later. Let's create. Let's see how to add a menu. And I will call it menu. Say J menu demo. Demo. Okay. So I will create a. I will copy paste my frame text, or sorry, not my frame text. I will copy paste the JFrame demo code. Okay, right. So I will set the border layout so that to the north side I can add the J menu. So F1 dot set layout, new border layout. Just give me 1 minute. Right. So then I will create a J menu bar. Okay, J menu bar. I'm going a little bit to the latter part. I'll come back to the event handling later after explaining how to add a menu. So J button I have already explained. Right. So when you add menus, so there's something called menu bar. So menu bar is something like this. Something like this. Okay. To that menu bar, you need to add menus. Say file menu, edit menu, help menu, right? Window menu, help menu, and so on. So those are called menu. Then each menu can have menu items. That is when you click on, you get new, open, and your menus can have submenus also, right? Submenus. And submenus can have another submenus. Okay. So that is how the menu work. So menus are great way of providing a lot of functionalities in a small area. Okay. Right. So the first thing is create a menu bar. Okay. Menu bar. Then set menu bar to your frame or to the region. Then add some menus to the menu bar. Right. So menu bar, you can add some menus. Okay. So then create some menu items and add those menu items to the menu. Right. Menus to the menu bar, menu items to the menu. That is how you do it. Okay. Right. So because it take time, I will copy paste. Because it will take another 10 minutes to code this, type this. Right. So what I have done, I have created a menu bar object, J menu bar object. It's a Java class, J in Swing. And I have set the menu bar. So the frame has a method called set J menu bar. Your frame, my frame is F1. So I just call the set menu bar. So that will automatically go into the top. So therefore, actually, even without layout, it will work. Or I can add it to the north side. Okay, let's not have the layout. We'll rely on the J menu bar, set menu bar method. Then I have created few menu objects, giving some names, file, edit, help, or whatever. And I have added those menus to the menu bar. Menu bar I just created. Then I have created some J menu item objects. It's all object oriented. Then some of the menus I have added to the edit menu. Some of the menus I have added to, of course, all the menus I have added to the edit. Okay. Maybe I will create another J menu item. Let's call this help. Do we have a menu called help? Yes. I'll call this about. About. Next one, I will say credits. Credits. So those two menu items I will add to the help menu. So we have menu called help. Okay, help. To the help menu also I want to add my about menu item and credits menu item. Right. So now I have created a menu bar, few menus, and I have added those menus, 3 menus to the menu bar. Then I have added some menu items. Some of the menu items I have added to menu called edit. Some other menu items I have added to the menu called help. And I have set the menu bar, my menu bar to my J frames using the set J menu bar method. It will set it to the top. Okay. Now let's run and see. Let's set the default close operation also. Otherwise, I always get that message. Set default close operation. Say jframe dot exit on close. Okay. Now let's run it because This one has the main method. I did not use the reusable extending approach. Rather, I create a JFrame here itself, okay? Because I don't want to reuse it. Now let's see whether our JFrame menus are working. So still my menu is not visible. Why? Maybe I have not called the set visible. Maybe I need to call the set visible last. That is the issue. Okay, let's call the set visible last. After doing all the things, let's call the set visible. Okay, so that should be the issue. Right, now you can see file has no menu items. Edit has some menu items. Help also I added 2 menu items. But when I click, nothing happens because still I have not done any event handling. But you can see I'm now gradually I'm creating adding required components to my application. So basically I'm giving you the ammunition to go to the war, and fight. Okay. Layouts, menus, still these are very dumb. Nothing happens when I click. So that is event handling is there, right? And so on. Now you should be able to understand this ChatGPT generated code. Okay. Right. So what it does, what it did, it created a JFrame object. Set default course operation is set. Set bound, I changed from set size to set bound. It has set the layout to border layout. Then it has created a J menu bar, some menus, and some menu items. And to the menu, it has added these menu items. Add separator means something like between those menu items, like this. Okay, separators that you can add anytime. Then to the menu bar, it has added the file menu, edit menu, and help menu. Don't worry about this. That is again another way of system exit. Okay, so let's delete that line because I don't need that right now. Now to the frame, we have added to the north side. So this time, because we have the border layout, the ChatGPT has added the menu bar to the north of the border layout. I told you that is the normal case, right? Rather than set menu method, this is better approach because we have better control. Then this is another concept, panel. So if you want to have widgets, set of widgets in one area, like set of buttons and so on, what you can do is you can add a panel, and to the panel you can add your other buttons and so on. Right? ඒක නිකන් කැබිනට් එකක් වගේ එයා ඉන්නවා වෙනම එයාගේ ඇතුළට පුළුවන් අපිට අනිත් ඒවා දාන්න. So we can give a different layout to this. So that is how you build software UIs. Okay, so panel. So it has used the concept called J panel. Right. So to that J panel, it has added those buttons. So rather than you just add the buttons to the say western area, to the western area they have added panel. To the panel they have ChatGPT has added the button. Now you can see panel is added to the west, and buttons are added to the panel. So that is better control. Okay. Then it has added text area also, right? That is just to make it nice, and added to the center so that we can type something in the middle. And finally, it has set visible. Right? Now let's run it and see. So bit of menus, bit of buttons, and here text area so that you can type anything. Okay. Of course, set area is not editable right now, but that is just to fill this area. Okay, it has added. Okay. Set editable false කරලා එයා දිනවා. මොකද අපි edit කරන්න කිව්වේ නැහැ නේ. false කරලා දිනවා edit කරන්න බැරි වුණේ ඒකයි. Right? So you can see අම්බෙලුවා edit කරන්න බැරි කියලා. I can't edit this area because this guy has හිමීට එකක් false කරලා සද්ද නැතුව. එහෙම කරන්න කිව්වේ නැහැ මම text area දාන්න කිව්වේ නැති හන්ද එයා edit කර මේව කළා. අර මොකක් හරි දාන්න ඕනට එයා දාලා තියෙන දැන් හරි. වැඩි හොඳට. Now I should be able to edit this also. Okay. දැන් හරියනවා word process එකක් වගේ තමයි පොඩි word process එකක්. හරි. So that is how you start coding. Right? You would start code. You also do a bit of coding, and when you are get more and more comfortable, you will ask tools to generate the code, and you play the role of assembling things, right? Assembly things. That is how you go through. Okay. Right. Any questions? Any questions? Because this is very important topic. Not for the exams, of course. Maybe just one question. But what is the purpose of writing only command line code, right? Command line code විතරයි මම කම්මැලි. ඔගොල්ලෝ පටන් ගන්න ඕනේ දැන් software develop කරන්න. දැන් software develop කරන්න. software develop කරන්න නැති නම් මොන මගුලටද BIT කරන්නේ? හරි software code software program එක ලියා ගන්න බැරි නම් මොන කාලකන්නිකමද? ඩිග්‍රියක් කරලා. Right. So we have added menu and also we have added button. Okay. So likewise we can add text boxes, right? We can add button, radio button, check boxes, and so on. Okay. That of course I have explained how to add those things in the note. So you can now go through the note and do it by yourself. Okay. So, okay, for example, these are the layouts we have done. Right. So now let's look at how to do event handling, because still my UI is there, but nothing happens. Like nothing happens when I click on a button or whatever. So nothing is happening because we have not done event handling. Okay. So how to do event handling? So this is where you need to understand object-oriented programming, especially polymorphism, how to use with interfaces and so on. Okay. Right. So there are different ways you can do the event handling. I will explain you about 2 or 3 approaches. So depending on your requirements, you can select the best way you want. Okay. Right. So we'll first create a UI to do that. Okay. So I'll call this new Java class. Say simple. Okay. Event handling demo 1. Handling demo 1. Okay. I'm going to do it in a very simple manner, but this is not the best way. Okay. I will copy paste code from my frame test. Sorry, not my frame test. JFrame demo. Okay. Right. And I will add the border layout. F1 dot set layout. Say new border layout. And I will create 2 J buttons. Say J button. B1. Okay, I call it B left. Equal new J button. I call it 1. Now you should be able to quickly do coding. Okay. Say 2. I call it B right. I will add B left to the east. Sorry, west. Say F1 dot add. Okay. Say B left to the border layout has a constant called west. Sorry, let's add it to the west. So first button is added to the west. Second button, let's add it to the say east. Let's call it B right. Right. So then I will add one more text box to the south. J text box or text field. I'll call it text south equal new J text field. Right. And I will add it to the south. I'm going to do a bit of event handling now, okay? So let's call it text south to the south. Now let's run and see. I do the set visible last because otherwise sometimes it doesn't show it. Let's run it. So now I should have two buttons, okay? Two buttons, still no event handling. And here I have text box, okay? So I'm going to show some messages there when I do event handling, okay? Right, so now I have not a very smart looking, but very odd looking, but I just want to make it very simple, okay? Right. So now I'm going to do the event handling. Okay, so this is one way of doing event handling. This is not the best way, actually the worst way, but this is a quick and easy way. Okay, so now my class, I'm going to say that this class is going to, okay, so let's do it in different way. So rather than doing the coding here, let's create our own class. Okay, and can take this code to the constructor. Okay, right, so let's quickly do it. Uh, Already I have a class called JFrame. Okay, my frame. Maybe I can do it to the my frame as well. But let's keep this simple, right? Right. Because then it will be complex because that was our first example. Okay, let's create a class. My frame, right? My frame with events. Events handling. I just call it, it's a little bit big name, but I just want to make it descriptive. My frame with event handling. Okay. So I will extend JFrame, the JFrame, JFrame. When you select, the import is automatically added. Okay. Right. So now I will take that code to the constructor. I'll create a constructor because this it will make it a little bit more professional. Right. Now I will take this code. Okay. Now you don't need to say you don't need to create a JFrame. You just call the methods. Okay. Now I just need to create this object in my event handling demo one. F1 equal new. Okay. Now I should get the same output. Same output. Okay. So let's set the exit on close also. Otherwise, it's a headache. Set exit. Sorry. Set default close operation. JFrame class dot exit on close. Okay. So that also I set. Let's add it somewhere in the beginning. So now I want to do event handling because I have buttons, but okay, let me close the other code. Just I have the my frame with event handling class. Okay. And my frame with demo, event handling demo. Okay. Right. So now this is how I am going to do the event handling. So when someone click a particular button or something, so those events are reported to the JVM or the Java runtime environment. But the thing is, I have not mentioned that I am interested in those events. If you mention that you are interested, JVM will notify your code. Notify your code. How do you say that? Now it's like a framework. So the framework already getting the events, but now we need to say to the framework, please, when you detect the event, say when someone click on this particular button, please notify my code. Notify my code. Remember the open close principle? Open to extension, close to change. Okay. Right. So how to do that? So this class itself, I can make it the event handler class. Then you must say that you are event handler. So how to do that? You need to say implements. That is a contract. Implements action listener. So that means you are an action listener. This class itself is action listener. It's an interface. So if you implement this interface, you need to implement the methods in this interface. So this particular interface has only one method called action perform. So therefore, you must implement this method. Otherwise, you are not an action listener. Okay, that is why you get an error, because if you are implementing a interface, you must implement all the methods. So luckily, only one method is there. So let's implement this method. So then that red code will go away. No red code now. Right. So now your class is an action listener. Okay. When there's an event, action event, you are a candidate, but still you have not mentioned to which widgets you want to listen the actions. Right. For the time being, let's have a out. Right. Let's say hi. Okay. Right. So now you are action listener and you have implemented action perform. Now, if you are listening to a particular action of a particular widget, JDK will call this action perform. But for that, you need to register that. Please send the events to this class. How to do that? Say, I want to listen to this left button. Left button. So then you need to say that left button's action listener is your class. Okay. So how to do that? So this is how you do it. Say B left dot add action listener. There's a method called add action listener. To that you can say I am the action listener. This means saying that I am. Of course, you are an action listener because you have implemented the action listener interface. So now, if a particular event happened for this B left button, JDK will notify this class. Uh, which method of this class? Action perform method, because the interface has already defined that you must implement this. That is a contract. So I told you it's a contract. Okay. Like the HDMI interface in hardware, USB. As long as you support USB, I will send you the signal. But you must implement what to do with your signal. I will send it as a USB port, through the USB port. Right? That is hardware level. This is software level. Right. So now you have asked the JDK if B left button has a action, notify my action perform method. Because I am the listener of this class is the listener for B left button, but not for the B right button. Okay. Now let's see if this is notified. This high will be print in the console. That means I am getting the events now. Okay. Let's run it and see. You need to run the other class. Right. So if I click on the right button, nothing happens because I did not register it for the right button. I registered it for the left button. Right. Now let's click on the left button and it says hi. That means your JDK is calling your method. Calling which method? Your action perform method. But only when you click on the left button, not for the right button. Because right button I have not registered. Okay. I have not registered for the right button. Okay, so that is how you do it. So if you want to register it for the right button also, you can say right button also, I am the action listener. Say be right. Now if I run this, for both left and right, now this class is the action listener. Now if I call the right, it say hi. If I click the left button, it says hi. For both, this is the action listener now. Okay, so now you have a small issue. So you must know exactly whether you click left button or right button. For example, what you are supposed to do for cancel is not what you are supposed to do for submit. Okay, so there are two options for that. That is go for two different action listeners or use the same method, but then you need to identify whether it's left or right. Okay, or whether this button or that button. So there's a way to do that. That is why this method has a parameter. Right? Action event. From action event, you can find out which button or which widget send this event. Right? Which widget send this event. Okay. So it has a method called get action command. It will give you the text of the button. Right? It will give you the text of the button. Okay. So let's use that. In my case, the text is 1 and 2. Okay, left button is 1, right button is 2. So if it is 1, capital 1, I will say 1. Okay, 1 is clicked. Else if right, else if it is 2, because that is the label we gave, 2, I will say 2 is clicked. Right. Though it is the same method, this parameter help us identify the source of the event. Okay, now let's run it and see. Right, so now let's see. Let's click on 2. It says 2 is 1, 1 is 2. Mark became 1 clearly. Why is that? It's, there's a bug in my code. This must be 2 is clicked. Else if, right? Now let's run it, right? It's my coding issue. Right, so when I click 2, it says 2 is clicked. That means I know what is my source is. Right, 1 is clicked. Again, 1 is clicked. 2 is clicked. 2 is clicked. 1 is clicked. So there, though it is the same method, still I can identify what is the source is. That is why they have given the parameter. So it has a method called get action command, gives you the text of that button. Okay. Right. So that is how you do your, now you can do whatever you want. Maybe database calls, right? Maybe you show another window, confirmation box. So that is how you gradually build your application. Right. So again, I tell you, if you start coding in semester one, you will be a software developer. But if you feel like at the end of semester one, okay, let's not do coding, let's concentrate on semester two subjects, semester three subjects, because you don't have programming again. So then when you go to the final year, you will be dumb. මැටි මෝලෙක් වෙනවා. මෙලෝ මගුලක් ප්‍රැක්ටිකලි කරගන්න බැරි. තියරි පස්සෙම යන බූරුවෙක් වෙනවා. Don't get into that. තියරි බූරුවෙක් වෙන්න එපා. වැඩක් කරන්න පුළුවන්. software එකක් කෝඩ් කරගන්න පුළුවන්, program එකක් ලියන්න පුළුවන්, problem එකක් solve කරන්න පුළුවන් ලස්සන මිනිස්සෙක් වෙන්න. professional කෙනෙක් වෙන්න. හරි. ඒක හන්ද අපි කෝඩ් කරන එක නවත්තන්න එපා. කෝඩ් කරන එක දිගටම කරන්න. හරි. ඔයා ආස දේවල් ඩෙවලොප් කරන්න පටන් ගන්න. ඇත්තට මගේ ඔළුවේ තියෙන ඩෙවලොප් කරන software 100 ගාණක් වෙලාවක් නැහැ. මිනිස්සුන්ට ප්‍රයෝජනවත් software. වෙලාවක් නැහැ. ඒක කාට හරි දීලා කරගන්න විදියක් නැහැ. සමාජයේ ඉන්න බහුතරයට කෝඩ් එක ලියා ගන්න බෑ. දැන් ෆයිනල් ඉයර් ප්‍රොජෙක්ට් කරන ස්ටුඩන්ට්ලාට ඇත්තටම මට බයයි ප්‍රොජෙක්ට් එකක් දෙන්න. මොකද මොන මගුලක් කරයිද කියලා ෂුවර් නැහැ. මොකද කෝඩ් කරන්නේ නැහැ ඒගොල්ලෝ. තියරි පප්පලා. නැත්නම් අපි ගාව ප්‍රොජෙක්ට් තියෙනවා දෙන්න. නමුත් ඒගොල්ලෝ අපිත් එක්ක කතා බහ කරලා කන්ෆිඩන්ස් එක බිල්ඩ් කරලා නැහැ අපිට කෝඩ් කරන්න පුළුවන් කියන්නේ. හරි. පොඩි එක්සර්සයිස් එකක් දැම්මත් මෙලෝ යකෙක් ඒක කෝඩ් කරලා එවන්නේ නැහැ. හරි. ඉතින් මොකද කොහොමද අපි කන්ෆිඩන්ස් බිල්ඩ් කරන්නේ? හරි. දැන් මොකක්ද පුළුවන් පොඩි පොඩි software develop කරලා ඒවා group එකේ share කරගන්න. මෙන්න මම develop කරා පොඩි code එකක්. ඕගොල්ලෝ මොකද හිතන්නේ? නැත්නම් මට එවන්න පුළුවන්. Asking for some feedback, some improvements. So that is how you build your competencies, right? But I don't know why these countries හැමෝම විභාග සාහිත්‍ය පස්සේ දුවන සෙට් එකක් ඉන්නේ. ඉගෙන ගන්නවා කියන්නේ මොකද්ද කියලා දන්නේ නැහැ. වෘත්තිකයෙක් කියන්නේ කවුද කියලා දන්නෙත් නැහැ. හැමෝම හිතන් ඉන්නේ මේ විභාග සාහිත්‍යයක් අරගෙන පිංගුත්තරේ වගේ මේසයක් උඩට වෙලා කකුල උඩ දාගෙන හිටියම හරියි කියලා. පිම්බත් කකා. So start doing something, whether it's software development or අඩු ගන්න ගෙදරක වත්තේ පොල් ගස් ටිකක්වත් හිටවන්න. ටේබල් ටිකක්වත් හිටවන්න. software development company. මොකක් හරි ඔළුවට එනවන්නේ නේද? කරන්න පුළුවන් දෙයක් ඒක කරන්න. ආස දෙයක්. නැත්තම් බත් පැකට් එකක්වත් හදලා දාන්න. එතකොට ඒකට ලොකු බිස්නස් එකක් ගොඩනගා ගන්න පුළුවන් තව අවුරුදු 5ක් අවුරුද්දක් දෙකක් යනකොට. මොකක් හරි කරන්න. හරි. software development බැරි නම්. දෑතේ වැඩක්. competency build කරගන්න. Okay. Right. So that is how you do simple event handling. Okay. Simple event handling. We handle the events in the this itself. Now remember I added a text box. So we can set it to that text box also. Okay. So let's do that. So remember we have the text box. But now I don't have access to this text. Why? Because it's in the constructor. And this method doesn't have access to that JText box of object. So therefore, this is not a, that is why I told you this is not the best way to do it. So one thing we can do is we can make our buttons, text fields and so on as instance variables so that every method have access to that. Shall we do that? Okay, so there is J button so that our event handling method has access to that. Okay, let's create it there, but let's declare it there. Then I have access to that. My event handling method has access to that. Now I can access the text field. And it has a method called setText. That also I will give the same message. So not only it's in the console, now it's in the text field also, UI. 2 is clicked. Now let's run it and see. Now let's see. Let's look at the console as well as this text. Now I will click on the 2 button. Okay, so it says 2 is clicked, and here also I don't know whether you can see it or not. I can see 2 is clicked. It's in my text box. Okay. Then click on 1 and it says 1 is clicked. Again 2 is clicked. Okay. 1 is clicked. So, okay, so that is how you do it. So this is one way of event handling. There are some other ways also. Like the best way is use of anonymous class, right? Anonymous objects. Okay. So I will explain how to use anonymous objects, how to use separate class in the next class, and also few widgets. Then, so that means I need another about 1 hour session to finish the Swing UI development. It doesn't mean that I have covered everything, but I am just giving you the basic idea, like basic idea, so that you can do self-learning, and then and there when you need, when there is a requirement, you learn about it and use it. Okay, right. So it's 5:15 almost. So we'll stop at this point. So next class we will finish Swing.